Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Inside Bristol. I'm your host, Sheridan Nichols, and we've got Suzanne Watland from the YMCA joining us now. She's going to tell us all about that amazing aquatics program that they have at the Y and how they're keeping the facility clean. Here she is.
We have a Float for Life program, and what we do is we work on survival techniques and this 1 to 4 year olds, and they don't have to have any kind of swimming experience. We actually take them and work through floating on their back, breath control, getting to the side, calling for help, things like that. And now what we're working with is we have our group swim lessons that start at 3 years old, and because these are younger, we're doing a bridging program so that they
order. I want to let everybody know, usually this doesn't affect our meetings, but we have a time constraint today because of the city council meeting tonight. So I still want to encourage discussion. We just kind of need to keep moving through the agenda at a steady pace. And I'm sorry for those parameters that we're constrained to, but that's just kind of how it is tonight. So again, I want to encourage your discussion, just kind of keep it succinct. All right, we need to have the roll call, please.
Okay. Chairwoman Marjorie Tester.
Here.
Ronald Crockett. Ron may join us. Spence Flag. Raymond Hill.
Here.
Thank you. Ella Kane.
Here.
Vernon Perry Jr.
Here.
Shauna Nefos Webb.
Here.
Thank you. Steve Willinger.
Here.
And Daniel Witcher.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We want to talk about the necessity for conducting the electronic meeting. Christina, I have that printed out. Do you want me to do it or do you want to do it?
You do it if you like. I'm
Okay.
happy to if you don't.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Governor Lee's Executive Order number 16, which has been extended through December 27th, 2020 by Executive Order number 60, has, as amended by Executive Order number 63, suspended the provisions of the open meeting to the extent necessary to allow governing bodies to conduct their essential business by electronic means rather than being required to gather a quorum of members physically in the same location. One condition of meeting electronically is that if a member of CDAC or staff is attending by audio only, they are asked to identify themselves by name and position when they speak. In order to proceed with meeting electronically, the governing body should make a determination that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in the light of the COVID-19 outbreak. At this time, it would be appropriate for the members to discuss whether they believe that meeting electronically is necessary and vote accordingly. If the members do not agree that meeting electronically is appropriate at this time, then this meeting should be adjourned until such time as the members can meet in person. And we need to have a vote by roll call, please, that it is okay for us and you want to go ahead and proceed with meeting electronically.
Are you ready?
Ready?
Okay. Chairwoman Marjorie Tester.
Yes.
Ronald Crockett. Spence Flag. Raymond Hill.
Yes.
Ella Kane.
Yes.
Vernon Perry Jr.
Yes.
Shauna Nefos Webb.
Yes.
Steve Willinger.
Yes.
And last but certainly not least, Dan Witcher.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look at the October 13th minutes from that meeting?
Yes.
Is there any discussion or are there any things that need to be amended or changed?
No.
Can we have a motion to accept them as presented?
Second.
Okay, who was that? I'm sorry, y'all are so quick tonight.
Steve.
Stephen Vernon?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Chairwoman Marjorie Tester.
Yes.
Ron, are you on yet? No. Spence Flag, no. Raymond Hill.
Yes.
Ella Kane.
Yes.
Thank you. Vernon Perry Jr.
Yes.
Shauna Nefos Webb.
Yes.
Steve Willinger.
Yes.
Daniel Witcher.
Yes.
Okay, Chairwoman. Minutes have been approved.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, the next thing we want to do is have Christina tell us about the consolidated plan approval.
Okay, guys, a couple things. So our consolidated plan was approved, which is great. Yay, we're so very happy about that. However, I just received notification yesterday that HUD headquarters, DC office, sent out incorrect allocation numbers to everyone in the country.
Oh, gosh.
So we have not received our letter from HUD yet, but it looks like it's going to be a decrease of 0.02%. So that's not a ton of funding, but once we get it, we'll look at it and decide. It's not a substantial amendment, because it's not more than 10% of our grant. So that's good. We don't have to do the public hearing. We don't have to do a comment period. We don't have to do all that, Jess. We may have to do an ad and a comment period. Let me just check on that before I say that. But anyway, round one was approved. So we'll get back to once we get the official letter from HUD, we'll make those additional changes needed.
Okay. All right. All right. Now, the next thing that we have is the CDBG CV round 3 new funding in the amount of $181,281. And if you will remember, at our last meeting, we talked about forming a partnership with the United Way. There were a lot of questions, and we wanted to have a little bit more meat to how that would look, and have it formulated a little bit better so that we could make a better presentation. So we have Lisa Kofer from the United Way with us to tell us more about how that partnership would work, the formalities, the ins and outs, and what that might do as a partnership with the United Way to help those in our community.
So Marjorie, hold on. Ask Lisa. Let me just tell you our recommendation, which we talked about last month. Staff's funding recommendation is to partner with the city of Bristol, Virginia, and the United Way of Bristol for the COVID round 3 funds to be used for LMI, which is low moderate income individuals that have been COVID affected and live within our city limits. Okay. Our round 3 allotment was, as you said, 181,281. So, in speaking with Tim and people around, what we've decided to present to you tonight, city staff, which would be Bristol, Tennessee staff, would keep, in theory, we could take up to 20%, but you'll see in a second that United Way is going to be doing most of the work here. So we felt like that funding should be used for the actual services. So the United Way would help with utilities for folks. Obviously, that would include gas, water, electric, and oil. And that allotment I've got here is the $144,995.25. We also wanted to put a food voucher in there. There was some discussion on that last time. But honestly, you know, I've looked at only $10,000 because Bristol, Virginia is not putting a number on their amount of food voucher. But really, you know, there's a lot of places where you can get food. So I felt like the priority, Tim and I talked about it multiple times, but the priority really is the utilities here to help folks. We didn't want to eliminate it completely. And then, of course, the United Way would get 10% of that allocation, which would be for administration, which would be the $17,221.70. Okay, and that gives you our total grant amount. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to have, you know, maybe some plus and negatives here. We might go under and have to figure out what to do, but that is what I'm presenting. Now, with that, there are going to be multiple guidelines. We haven't figured out all the quirks yet, but if this is something that you like, you know, obviously we can get that recommendation done before we take to city council. So obviously the money must go to low, moderate income families. that live in our city limits. The funds provided to United Way will be provided in $10,000 increments. So once they spend $10,000, they can request a reimbursement from our program, and they'll have to produce those receipts and show where they've paid that to. So utility payments will be made directly to utility companies. No funds will actually be given to the recipient, I guess, of the grant. It would include electric, water, gas, and oil, like we talked about. Does not include internet, phone services, cable, etc. We want to make sure we get that out there to folks. 10% of the total funding we just talked about to pay for the staff, the admin. Utility funds may be used to correct up to 3 months of past bill dues. So we thought, since it's taken a while to get this approved, 3 months is kind of a good time frame to help folks. And then a maximum for the utilities of $1,000. A family may be given food vouchers from our side of town to the maximum of $250. Obviously, the United Way would ensure that our CDBG funds are provided to families with or below the 80% area median income. And we do have the chart for that. Each household can receive a maximum total grant of $1,250. So that would be the $1,000 for utilities and $250 for the food. And then United Way will be really, through their administration, provide copies of their income limits, etc.
Couple questions, if I may ask, Ms. Dan Witcher.
Hey, Dan.
Number one is the grant era. Does that just for round one, or does that include the round three as well? Does that fund need to be changed, or is it going to remain the same?
No. The funny thing is this doesn't have anything to do with the COVID money. No CARES money. This is our actual normal CDBG and home funds.
Got you.
Yes.
Second question on this. No cash or check will be changing hands. It's either going to be food voucher or direct payment to the utility. Is that correct?
Correct. And Lisa will go into more detail about that, Dan, but you're spot on. No money will actually be handed to the recipient. It will be paid in their name.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. So now, Marjorie, you can introduce Lisa.
Okay, Lisa is the executive director of the United Way. She's been in that position for many, many years. She has a wonderful staff that's very dedicated to helping everyone in our region, and they do an amazing job of coordinating resources and services. And I've relied on her many times to help people that have come in the bank, people with other nonprofits, just to connect everyone together. So we're really excited to have Lisa with us tonight. I appreciate you, Lisa, taking some time to share how this plan might work. And with that, there's Lisa.
Hey, well, thank you so much. And it's always a pleasure to see you, Marjorie. And yes, we have worked together many times over the years. Thank you all so much for giving me the opportunity to be here tonight. And when Christina said we had a very limited amount of time, I did a very short, about 4 or 5 slides where I can share with you just a little bit about United Way, and then I'll talk a little bit more in detail about the partnership. Christina, if you can go to that next slide. Yes, thank you. Our official mission is to bring together resources to help people in our community live healthy, productive lives. And we do that in a myriad of ways. If you'll go on to that next slide, Christina, thank you.
Got fancy slides here.
Oh, hell, Lori did this for me. It's not me. I'll just tell you, Lori in my office. But I will tell you all that when I first took my position with United Way almost 23 years ago, we were primarily looked at as a financial resource for organizations in the community. And that is what we do, but that is a very small part of what we do anymore. We have evolved into doing a lot of case management. Our community does not have a case manager where just anybody can go to them. We have wonderful organizations like the Salvation Army and Bristol Faith in Action and the Haven of Rest. So if you're homeless, you can get case management through our emergency shelters like the Haven and Salvation Army. If you need help with rent and utilities and some food, you can go through Bristol Faith in Action and they can help you with some case management. But if you're a family that is facing something, maybe loss of a job or during COVID, hours being cut back or, different situations, there's not just one case manager you can go to, but you can call the United Way, and we will work very closely with these families and individuals to try to pull those resources together for them. For the most part, I think people look at us a lot as a referral service, and we do refer folks to places, but to other nonprofits, but we spend a whole lot more time with them. And as I said, that's kind of evolved over the years. Since COVID hit in mid-March, we've received, by now it's probably closer to 600 calls from individuals and families that we've worked with to help them navigate the resources to meet their needs and to become stable. And that's our goal. Our goal is to help pull those resources together, whether that's Calling People Inc. for a homeless family and getting them into a motel, or using some grant monies we got from Wells Fargo recently for families and their children to stay in a hotel until we can get them into housing. You all know what the wait lists are like in both Bristol, Tennessee and in Bristol, Virginia. And then, being able to try to find something that families can afford. So it might be reaching out to People Inc. or Upper East Tennessee Human Development and helping them to navigate those resources. But it's also making sure they have food. I just got off the phone with Jamie Kincaid, who works with, not sure if it's Veterans of America, but anyway, she works with a lot of veterans, and she has a homeless vet, single dad with a 12-year-old son, and she's getting him into a motel today. But I called the food pantry and said, we need her to be able to come by and pick up some food for them. It has to be Pop-Top things they can fix in the microwave, things they can, fix in a motel room until she can get them into more permanent housing. For many of the families, one-time assistance from an organization is not enough for them to get back on their feet. And at Bristol Faith in Action, you can only get help from them with rent or utilities once every 6 months. And with the Salvation Army, it's once every 12 months. So we are excited about this partnership because it gives these families an opportunity to have a third resource. One of the things that we talked about with Christina and with Ellen in Bristol, Virginia, is making sure that each family that comes and wants to apply for these funds, that they've already utilized the services of Bristol Faith in Action and Salvation Army, and this will be a third resort for them. What happens is, if someone loses their job, unless they can find something fairly quickly, which sometimes they can't, or if they've been in the hospital or their car broke down or whatever their situation is, their child's been sick, sometimes it takes them more than 1 or 2 months to get back on their feet and to be stable. And so what this would do is would allow these families that are already struggling to have a third alternative and to help them be even more stable than they are, if they just had one opportunity to go to Bristol Faith in Action or Salvation Army. Can you go? Yeah, thank you. I'm going to share just briefly a few stories that kind of will help relay to you all the scope of what we do. Within that first week of COVID hitting, within the first month, we had 4 families that had newborns that were homeless. One of the first families that we helped, it was a newborn baby. They needed a place to stay. They needed diapers. They needed formula. And so we were able, over a period of a couple of months, to get them into a permanent place for them to live, something they could afford. Dad was working. Mom would be going back to work as soon as she could find affordable childcare, which we helped her navigate that as well. But as you all know, the YW, which is also one of our partners, has the only sliding scale fee-based childcare in our community, and their wait list is very long. But we were able to get them, through that. We were able to work. We reached out to the community health workers at Ballad Health to get some formula for the baby, some diapers. So we have a lot of connections out there. We have a lot of people that we can pick the phone up or shoot a text to. I texted Lacey Ball this morning with People Incorporated. We had a family that we've been housing in a motel, and I apologize, my dog is barking in the background. I hope you can't hear that, but they'll stop in a minute. Anyway, their time was up at the motel, and they are, trying to get some things in place to get permanent housing, but Dad didn't have a birth certificate. They didn't have Social Security cards for the kids. And so the school system has been working through all that to get them copies of the necessary paperwork so we can get them in a place. But I texted Lacey this morning, it was probably about 6:30 or 7, and said, hey, we need another week for this family. Can you all do this? That's what we do with Katie with Upper East Tennessee when we have Bristol, Tennessee families. We do the same thing. We had an elderly lady that was in cancer treatment when COVID first started. She had an 18-year-old autistic son, and she was afraid to go out to the grocery store. She was taking chemo treatments, and with everything going on, she was afraid to get out in the grocery store. Well, I was working at the office by myself for a few weeks, and so I was able to reach out to one of our agency directors, it's Rick Matthews at the YMCA, and he had already said anything we can do to help. And I just called Rick and said, if I call the food pantry and have a box ready for you, can you run by there, pick it up? Can you take it to her house here's where she lives, and just put it on her porch for her? I'm not sure what the other story is, Christina. Oh, we've been working for several months now with a family with 2 children. They live in Bristol, Tennessee. Both parents, between them, they work 3 jobs, but they are still struggling to make ends meet. Their car broke down. They had some other issues that happened, and they are one of our ALICE families. ALICE is a term coined by United Way that stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. It's our working families out there that are trying really hard, but they're just not able to make ends meet. Or, as so many people say, they are one car repair or one hospital visit away from being on the streets. And that is so true. And so many of our families are in that situation. One of the things that the community came to us to do and I think this shows the scope of our work really well, what they came to us when COVID first hit was, what are we going to do with our homeless population if they test positive for COVID and or they're waiting to get their test results back? How are we going to prevent the spread? How are we going to make sure they have, a place to stay? How are we going to make sure they have everything that they need while they're trying to recover? And so we worked with city leaders, both Bristol, Tennessee, and Virginia, over a period of about 3 weeks on meetings just like this. And on a Thursday afternoon, the group signed off on our plan. And it was everything from how to work with one person at a time that's homeless and COVID positive, to how are we going to work if we have 40 or 50 people at a time. And we had different phases of what we would do. And thank the good Lord, we've not had to implement our tent city for, 40 or 50 folks. The max we've had at a time is 2 people at a time. It started out, we were able to house these folks right here in Bristol. We partnered with the Salvation Army to deliver a meal to them, a hot meal every evening, and they would deliver a box of things that they could fix themselves for breakfast and lunch because they have a microwave and a refrigerator. And then we work with them to try to help them be in a better situation when they leave quarantine so that they can get into some permanent housing. The first lady that we housed, the health department called me. We approved the plan on a Thursday afternoon, and we had our first case on that following Monday afternoon. She was a single person, and she was working 2 jobs and living in her car. And she had been doing that for quite a while and didn't realize, I guess, the different exposure that maybe she was going to experience. And so she did test positive. We got her into a place to stay. We provided all of her meals. We did not have to hire security. Part of the plan is if someone has mental health issues or they just refuse to stay where we've placed them and stay inside and stay away from others, how are we going to handle that? And I can tell you that we did have that situation, and that was very challenging. Since then, we lost the place that we were working with here locally. It had nothing to do with any of the clients we put there or anything that had to do with what United Way had done, but their insurance provider said you can't house these folks that are positive anymore. So our location's about 30 miles from Bristol, which makes a lot of other challenges. We actually continue to partner with Salvation Army to provide the meals, but Salvation Army delivers those meals to Abingdon, and then someone with People Incorporated delivers those meals every day. It has been quite challenging, but we've been able to do it. We did have to provide transportation. The First Lady, had her own car. So there's been a lot of things that have happened during this that have been learning experiences for us, but we've been up to the challenge, and we've been able to make sure that those folks stay healthy and are able to get out of quarantine better off than where they were when they came in. The next slide. Okay. One of the things that I love about our United Way and our community is that we work together. We cover 2 states. We are one city, and we're one United Way. Our service area is the city of Bristol, Virginia, the city of Bristol, Tennessee, and the east zone of Sullivan County and Bluff City. We work to make our community a better place to live, work, and play. I don't know if most of you probably remember Jeff Bird, who was the general manager of Bristol Motor Speedway. And one of my favorite sayings that he used to say was, he could always determine the strength of a community by the strength of their United Way. And we're only able to be successful in continuing to meet the needs of people in our community by working together. And so that's why we're here today, to share with you all that we feel we are the right organization to take this on. We got a grant from People Inc. Several months ago. It was actually back in July. And part of that grant has allowed us to hire a part-time case manager. She started about a month ago and is already in full swing. She already had some great experience as a volunteer with Bristol Faith in Action. And so, we anticipate if and when this is approved by City Council and by you all, then we won't miss a beat in going into providing these services. I'd like to address Mr. Witcher's question a few minutes ago about money. No money ever is given to a client. I can tell you that in anything that we do, and certainly in this case, we will provide the financial support directly to the utility company or the gas company. And Christina mentioned food vouchers. What we have found to be the most effective is to provide Food City gift certificates, because on those gift certificates, you have the ability to say that they cannot be used for tobacco, alcohol, and anything that is not food related. And Christina, I don't know if we talked about this.
The lottery tickets. Alcohol,
lottery tickets, anything like that. And so by doing the gift certificates, which they actually can print in Abingdon and put on there anything, however we want that, however the city or however your group wants that to say. But what we've done with those that we've done with our COVID relief funds for families and elderly is we have on there, it cannot be used for tobacco, lottery tickets. We did not put gas on there for the specific group that we purchased, because we have a lot of families that need help getting back and forth to work. And so we left the gas part off of that. So that would totally be up to you all on how you would want to do that. If it's food only, then that's what we would make it print out to say. We will keep excellent records. We've already put an application together that we've shared with Christina and Ellen and gotten their feedback on that, made a few little minor changes. So that's ready to go. We've already had our IT people, IT Decisions out of Johnson City donates all of their time to us. And that was actually a partnership that Jeff Bird set up for us many years ago, and they continue to do that. So we're very blessed. They've already set up an email account specifically for folks to email us their information just for this, so that we don't have to weed through other emails in order to be able to get that, get that information for them, and to make it a lot easier on the client. And the clients that we work with are in crisis mode 24/7. And so we don't want this, we want to make this process as easy as possible for them, to try to not, make it difficult. So, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Lisa?
Yes, Steve.
Okay, let's talk about how people will learn about this. Is it something, Christina, we're going to do? Is it, Lisa, are you going to be helping us?
We actually, and I don't have anything to present to you all yet because we need to get a little bit closer to a decision before we do this, but we have someone that we are actually paying to do social media, to do some other things for us. It was some grant money that we had, and we've already talked to her about putting together a program that helps promote this as a partnership between both cities and the United Way, and be able to get that out there. We will also share that with those specific agencies, those boots on the ground agencies, so to speak, like the Salvation Army and Bristol Faith in Action and Upper East Tennessee Human Development, because they serve both cities, and we'll let them know that these dollars are available. In fact, we've talked a little bit with Bristol Faith in Action already about it. And so what'll happen is, word will get out, I'm telling you. It will not take long at all, but depending on what the city prefers and what your group prefers, we'd like to think that once everything is in place, it's been approved by everyone that it needs to be approved by, then we can do a news release and do some sort of maybe even a news conference. I don't know. It'd probably have to be done by Zoom, of course, but just to promote that partnership and promote us working together, but also making sure that people know where they can go.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa, I have a quick question for you to educate me on something.
Okay.
We're going to be asking the clients to email us. Do most of the population that we're going to be serving have access to email? I know a lot of them have a cell phone, but do they have access to email and the data on their phones and things like that?
Most of them do. And if they don't, they can go to the library and have access to computers there. And it might be that, and I haven't talked to Bristol Faith in Action or Salvation Army about this, but I feel sure with the partnerships we have built with those organizations that if necessary, they could actually go there too. And we have another option on the Bristol, Virginia side at the Housing Authority. I don't know if there's an option on the Tennessee side for that, but we could certainly look into that. But I honestly don't think that'll be an issue. I've worked since COVID. I've actually worked with one person, and that actually was yesterday, that did not have a phone, didn't have access to email except for a short period of time and those kinds of things. But I will tell you that we will go through whatever we need to do to make sure that that person has access to be able to get their information to us. And we have a mail slot too. They are certainly welcome to bring printed copies and drop it in that mail slot. And we get that every day. And we also put in the proposal to Christina that we would respond either yes or no, whether they qualify within 24 hours of the client making contact with us. And that's pretty quickly.
Sure.
Yes, it is.
It'll probably happen more quickly than that, but we just want to, sometimes if they don't get us their paperwork, that might make it go a little longer than that, because we have to have that proof in order to meet the guidelines that Christina's put in place, and that, for the money.
Right. That's great. I just want to make sure technology was not going to be a barrier to helping somebody that really needed help.
No, absolutely not.
Thank you.
I wanted to go back really quick to the money part, just so you can see this one more time. So Bristol, Tennessee staff, we would take 5%, $9,064.05. United Way for utilities, $144,995.25. United Way food vouchers up to 10,000, and then United Way admin 10% of that grant would be 17,221.70. That being said, we don't really. I mean, I'm approximating, 125, 130 families. Lisa actually has the number of the average utility bill. She's been working with some folks on that. Do you remember that right off, Lisa?
Oh, I'm thinking it was about 180. And I meant to mention you all, we already administer the Help Your Neighbor funds for Bristol, Tennessee Essential Services. We've done that since before I came to United Way. And so they see the clients, of course, but we already pay those electric bills on a monthly basis. And we have reports that, they're required to give us in order to do that. Christina, I don't have that in front of me, and I apologize that I didn't think to bring that with me. But what I did was I went back from December, January, February of this year, of 19 and 20, and then 18 and 19. And I looked back at what the electric bills were for Help Your Neighbor folks, and that's how we came up. I believe it was about $175, $180 was the average, because you're going to get some, especially if you can go back 3 months, that may be a little more than that. And especially if someone's living in an older home or a home that doesn't have efficient electricity and that kind of thing, then you're going to see some that are going to be way more than that, but you're going to have some that are less than that as well.
Lisa, with
Yes, sir.
BTES and paying, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. With BTES, are they, when they agree to help someone like this, are they waiving any past due fees or interest or anything?
I can't answer that, Steve. I will tell you what it is. The Help Your Neighbor dollars are dollars that customers of BTES add to their bill. Like they'll pay $5 a month to go to the Help Your Neighbor program. And then all of that money is just put into an account. And then Salvation Army are the ones that meet with the clients. And then we just pay the bills out of that account. So I don't think they waive those bills, but I will tell you that, and Christine, this may be something we need to talk about. I don't think we have, but I don't know if the Salvation Army will pay those, like the extra charges. I don't know. I didn't include like internet or anything like that in my figures, but I don't remember seeing any, like a late fee of $25 or anything like that, but I will clarify that, Steve.
Thank you. Yeah. That would be, yeah, you don't
But
wanna...
if somebody's behind 3 months and they can't pay that, they can't pay a $25 fee either.
Right.
So, we wouldn't, in my opinion, we wouldn't want that to be a barrier to them, becoming homeless or something if we didn't, pay that $25. But I don't know if BTS does that. But Lola McVeigh is on our board, and she's their CFO, so I can check with her.
That would be cool, especially if they could, just from how we use our money, I don't know that, but they said pay the utility bills. They didn't isolate out, no late fees or past due interest or something. Okay.
Okay.
Lisa, is there a mechanism in place with the utility companies to do this, or is that something you're going to have to establish, or if you already have procedures?
What do you mean?
Because you're paying directly to the utility companies, you already have accounts and established procedures to do that, or my understanding was that might not have been in place already.
And Christine, I don't know if we talked about this. I think probably what we would do, and I'll have to check with our finance person and our treasurer on which is the best way to set up a separate account, or, how we're going to do that. I would assume that's probably what we will do, similar to the Help Your Neighbor account. But all it would be setting up a checking account so those dollars go directly in there, and then and I think I would feel more comfortable doing that, just because I think you can have a better paper trail, because that's all you're looking at. But that's all it would entail, would be setting up an account.
And similar to BTES, the other utility companies have the same kind of mechanism for their utilities.
BVU does not do the Help Your Neighbor program anymore. They used to do it as well. And then several years ago, when they made all those different changes, they quit doing that. So the only help for Bristol, Virginia folks is Bristol Faith in Action or Salvation Army.
But we're just
If
doing,
it's different funds from Salvation Army.
we're just doing Bristol, Tennessee, right?
Right.
Just remember, she asked about if the other utility had the same mechanism. So Lisa was just kind of adding on that they don't at this time, but she's going to really put the promotion out there about our city partnerships.
Yeah, and we've actually talked about doing some sort of a theme or something, but all of that we'd run through you guys first, anything that we did.
This is good. This is a good plan. I'm glad you agreed to this, Lisa. Thank you.
Well, we're just excited to be able to do it. It just gives us another option to be able to help our folks and to help them not be out on the street. It's bad enough if you can't pay your rent, but if you can't pay your electric bill either, they're going to cut that off probably faster than you're going to be evicted. So.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Christina or Lisa, either one of you don't see any problem with HUD not buying into this, do you?
I actually have already sent them the idea, and they were excited about it. So I did want to make sure that we had that email with their this sounds like a great plan, Christina, before we move forward.
Perfect. Thank you, Lisa and Christina. This looks like a great plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question about the requirement on that both Faith in Action and the Salvation Army must have provided funds. I believe they provide different kinds of funds. And so what kind of funds are you talking about?
Okay, let me clarify that, Ron. Hi, Ron. How are you?
Good.
What our thought is, and this is what we talked to Christina and Ellen about, is, even if someone has gone to the Salvation Army already in the past 12 months and gotten help, however that is, however they've gotten help for utilities or whatever, and they can't go back and get help for 12 months, but they still need help, and they've gone to Bristol Faith in Action in the last 6 months and already gotten help, they can't go there. So this will be another option for them while they're trying to become stable, to have a place to go to get help with that.
And to add on to that, Ron, if I may, the duplication of benefits is a big deal. So we want to make sure that they've already checked with other resources, and there are no other resources out there other than this funding to help them.
Well, is this limited to utility bills, or is this for any kind of assistance?
No, this is utilities.
Well, that's not what it says. And that's why I wanted to understand what the intent was. And I think that needs to be clarified if this is going to be a policy.
What?
Where does it?
It's on the United Way proposed partnership. Under requirements, it has basic requirements at the bottom. And, it says must have received assistance from both Faith in Action and the Salvation Army within the past 6 months. So, that the way that's worded, what kind of assistance is it?
Well, it doesn't.
One of them doesn't provide any assistance for that particular item.
Okay, we can get that updated, Lisa. That's easy.
Next thing, what is the LMI? I know what it is. Does everybody else on the committee, and will everybody on city council know what that means?
Our AMI, annual median income. Yeah, we discussed that, I think, just before you came on.
Oh, okay.
So yes, 80% of the area median income.
I understand.
And they'll have the numbers to work from.
City council will?
Oh, I will be sure to give them to them.
They need to, I know what it means, but people who are not involved in this stuff may not. So Are you only going to pay for water, or what about sewer and trash?
We're not going to pay for sewer and trash or water. Actually, we're only, I'm going to have to back up here and show you real quick. Let me see if I can, bear with me, guys.
Water's on there.
Yeah, I mean, it is water, electric, oil, and gas.
Yeah, but water, I mean, you get a bill from the city and it's got water, sewer, and trash. It's all those three things on the bill. And you're only going to pay for the water portion of the bill?
Well, I mean, we'll have to figure that out. But if this is something that you guys want to do, I will figure that out, and we will make sure that that gets credited as appropriately.
Yeah, in Bristol, Tennessee, it's all on one bill. It's not separated out.
And the same in Bristol, Virginia. They all comes from BBU.
Okay, we'll figure that out.
I don't know what the county does or Bluff City, but I know that Bristol, it's all one bill. Mm-hmm. And the water is just peanuts compared with sewer and trash for many of these folks.
Okay, that's good. That's a good observation. We need to know that for sure.
Oh.
Are you going to pay for LP or not? Any kind of gas? What about you got oil there, but you've got gas? Or are you going to include LP gas or as well as natural gas?
I would think so.
What's LP gas?
Liquid propane.
Oh.
We would need to do that to have for them to stay warm or to cook with.
Yeah, I would put both natural and propane or LP. I mean, propane and LP are similar. They're not exactly the same, but everybody uses them interchangeably. But you have to have the tank at your house, and the guy comes and fills up the tank. It's a bigger version of what you do with your barbecue grill outside.
I would say yes.
Okay, let me ask you something, Christine. Are we even thinking about the kids that's in these families needing this that just sometimes harbor on the internet? And if they don't got the internet, they're not going to be able to do their school. I'm not saying wasting the internet, but how about the applications at least to get with the kids for school?
I know that has actually been quite a large topic within the school systems, and they've been talking to the individual utility companies. I don't know if this is something that we want to pursue, as it's probably only going to be able to help like 125 families with this money. So, I mean, go ahead, Lisa.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we looked into that, Mr. Perry, when COVID first hit, trying to make sure the schools went virtual. And I can get an update from Kay Ward on this, but it's my understanding that BTES has a program where families can get their internet free if they have kids and are using it during this time. I'm not sure, if they got a grant to do that or whatever, but I'm happy to reach out to Kay Ward and get an update on that and see how that's working.
Okay, if they're not doing it, Christina's got my phone number. I've got a guy with Spectrum that will hook them up cheap due to their income, and it'll stay that way.
Okay. Well, I will get that information for Christina so that she can share that with you. But that's a great thought too.
Yes.
Okay, we have 10 minutes, Marjorie.
Yes, we do. Okay.
Can I interject something here?
Yes.
Okay. Lisa, you mentioned that family, the homeless veteran.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you realize it, but we have 9 vouchers that are available right now for homeless vets that we have not been able to fill. So if he still needs housing and he can go through the VA and the VA will determine him eligible for one of those, then I could issue it to him tomorrow.
He is in Virginia, but he's homeless. So really he's not anywhere. So I will, who does he need to reach out to? Because I could have Jamie do that. I'll text her.
I can't think of the name right now. It's the homeless programs coordinator at the VA, and I've got her number at my office. If you'll email me in the morning, I'll give you that information.
Okay, great. That would be awesome. Does Arch know you have those available?
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
We have an
8?
allocation, we have an allocation of 10 from HUD. One of them is currently being used, and I think he's going to be giving up his voucher probably. But yeah, we have a hard time using them.
Okay. Well, I will actually reach out to somebody else that might know some folks too. Thank you, Regina.
Okay, so we've had lots of discussion about our partnership with the United Way in the city of Bristol, Virginia. How do you all feel about moving forward with the program? Do we need more discussion, or are we ready for a motion?
I say we move forward.
I
I
second.
have one additional comment to make. The food voucher, I understand, apply only to Bristol, Tennessee in-city residents. Is that correct?
Bristol, Virginia has their own that they're going to do too, Ron. They'll have a little bit of a different program. We talked about it, I think, before you joined us too, but they're not limiting their food vouchers. And we feel like on Bristol, Tennessee, there is a lot of areas that where people can get food. So we have limited it to that $10,000.
No, I'm talking about the $250 per family. Is that for both sides of town?
No, Bristol, Virginia is not limiting their food vouchers at all.
Then I think we ought to say that Bristol, Tennessee is, and Bristol, Virginia is not, or clarify that point. No further comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm in favor of this.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we take a vote? So Vernon made the motion. Steve seconded.
Okay, Christina, if you'll take roll call, please.
Chairwoman Marjorie Tester.
Yes.
Ron Crockett.
Yes.
Spence Flag resigned. Raymond Hill.
Yes.
Ella Kane.
Yes.
Vernon Perry Jr.
Yes.
Shauna Nefos Webb.
Yes.
Steve Willinger.
Yes.
And Dan Witcher.
Yes.
Good job, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
By the way, I noticed there was another page here and a question. Do we want to set a certain percentage for utilities and for food, or just distribute it till it's all gone? I'm wondering if there's if we should set up a sliding scale for those at poverty level up to 80% below area median, or do we just give it all out? We didn't discuss that, I don't think.
Ron, my guess is it's going to be hard to know here on the front end, because we're really not going to know what the requests are going to be till we go forward.
Agree.
And I think if they've got a bill that is due and they're about to lose their electricity, I don't think we need to be paying a percentage. I think we need to keep the electricity on no matter how much that bill is.
Hey, Marjorie, with this program, I'm sorry. Do we wait until they're 3 months past due before we respond?
No, it's when they make application.
When they make application, and it's up to 3 months.
Right.
Up to 3 months. Okay.
Yes.
Lisa's gonna have some paperwork to do.
Okay, we feel good. We've done a motion. We've seconded it. We've done roll call.
Oh, let's move on.
Move on. Okay, good job. Thanks, everybody. Some old business. So I gave to you, not in our last meeting, but in our September meeting, the CAPER numbers. I will forward you guys the CAPER to review in advance, but I'm also going to just go ahead and send it on to HUD when we get finished, and I will report to you in our January meeting, since we do not meet in December. But a quick snapshot, like we've talked about, CDBG year included 6 emergency rehab projects, 1 substantial rehab, 1 demolition, and the YWCA public service money for the 12 qualifying families, and our new and reconstructed sidewalks. So we had a really good year. Not much else to report on that. Oop. No new business. Marjorie, I'm just going here, girl.
Keep going. You're doing well. Thank you.
You guys got my monthly report for the CDBG and Home program. If you have any questions, let me know. But we are rocking and rolling right now. I don't think we have time for a Bristol Day Center update other than for me to tell you that things continue to move forward. I think Family Promise of Bristol will be picking a location here very soon. And then, Regina, we would normally give you guys time for Bristol Housing. Do you have something that you can give to us in like 2 minutes? Can't hear you.
You're muted, Regina.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Steve just wanted me to let you know that we got a lot of COVID money, and so we've been using that to update some of our vehicles at work. So that's been nice to have some of those old 1990 vehicles gone and some ones that actually run. Yeah. But the other thing that we're doing is with the extra money left over from what COVID covered for salaries and things like that, then we're going to have some reserve money. So we have families in our home ownership program, about 3 families that need some extensive repairs done on their houses. These are people that are, paying part of the mortgage, and we're paying part of the mortgage. So we're going to allocate about $20,000 to help those 3 families to get those houses up to grade. So basically all we got going, all that I can think of to tell you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here with us today too, Regina.
Sure, not a problem.
Okay. Our next meeting is scheduled for January the 12th. Depending on what the governor's orders are at that time, we will wait and see if we'll meet in person or if we will be meeting via Zoom again. But in the meantime, if anything else comes up, call Christina.
I'm totally cool with that. Call me if you need me, everybody.
Okay, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.